Please welcome the Executive Director of the Radio Television Digital News Foundation and Association, Dan Shelly.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Radio Television Digital News Foundation 28th Annual First Amendment Dinner. Thank you. This is one night in our nation's capital during which we can find safe haven from cries of fake news and enemy of the American people. And we can celebrate the very first of our constitutionally enshrined Bill of Rights. The First Amendment protects religion, assembly, the right to petition the government, speech, and of course the press. And it is that particular protection that we are gathered here tonight to commemorate. Never in our nation's modern history has it been more dangerous to be a journalist. According to the U.S. Press Freedom Tracker, of which RTDNF is a founding partner, there were 44 physical attacks on journalists across the country in 2017 alone. There have already been a handful so far this year. Last year, there were 34 arrests of journalists in America, reporters and photojournalists who were handcuffed, jailed, pepper sprayed, and sometimes violently assaulted by police officers just for doing their constitutionally guaranteed duty to serve the public. So toxic is today's environment that newsrooms have had to drastically increase security. Some news organizations have felt it necessary to send their crews into the field with armed security guards. Extremists all along the ideological spectrum have felt emboldened to lash out, often too harshly, at responsible journalists whose work they either just don't like or just don't understand. Somehow, in America, it has become acceptable to some to sell, buy, and even wear T-shirts that read, "Rope, Tree, Journalist, some assembly required." Replace the word journalist with any other profession. Rope, tree, teacher, some assembly required. Rope, tree, police officer, some assembly required. Rope, tree, rabbi, some assembly required. Can you imagine the universal outrage? Why then should it be acceptable to wear a T-shirt that openly advocates the lynching of American journalists? Let me tell you something. It is not okay. And that's why late last year, RTDNF and our parent association, RTDNA, compelled Walmart, the nation's largest retailer, to stop selling those damn shirts. Early the very next morning, they suddenly showed up on Amazon, and we helped compel Amazon to stop selling the shirts. The next day, the shirts showed up on eBay, and the seller who was offering them there said, and I quote, "Banned by Walmart, so we made copies." We helped compel eBay to remove those shirts as well. Those T-shirts were removed from America's largest e-commerce platforms thanks to the work of the RTDNA Voice of the First Amendment Task Force, which we formed more than a year ago after top executives of companies that run local newsrooms across the country came to us and asked for our help because they were seeing the consequences suddenly of the most dishonest people in the room, which had been targeting mostly the national news media prior to the 2016 election, starting to affect their news crews in communities throughout the land. Our Voice of the First Amendment Task Force has done more than stem the sales of threatening T-shirts. It's fought dozens of battles at the federal, state, and local levels to speak out against threats to press freedom, to provide legal advice to journalists who have been unjustly jailed, and to newsrooms that have been targeted by unfair lawsuits or obstructionist court rulings. And it has worked hard to help the public better understand why outstanding responsible journalism is essential to their daily lives. And that is the main reason we are here tonight. We are here to honor outstanding responsible broadcast and digital journalism. Specifically, we are here to reward particular honorees who serve as symbols and role models for speaking the truth to power, for having the courage to become a pioneer in what is now the Me Too movement, for running a news division with a storied history of amazing journalism, for providing badly needed context to the mess that is, sadly, Washington today, and for devoting one's entire life to seeking and reporting the truth. None of tonight's honorees and no one else in this room is a purveyor of fake news, and no one in this room is an enemy of the American people. Something very good, actually, has emerged during these perilous times for the First Amendment. Tonight's responsible journalist honorees and the news organizations they represent and many other news outlets have stepped up their games. They've heeded the call that I and others have made during the past year that the only antidote to attacks on journalism is more and better journalism. They have exposed corruption and hypocrisy. At the national and local level, journalists have shined a light on problems that otherwise would have gone unnoticed. Often the work of journalists has served as catalysts for positive change here in Washington and in communities throughout the United States. We as a society need investigative journalists more than ever. Thank you, but those aren't my words. They're the words of Michigan Assistant Attorney General Angela Povolitis, spoken in open court at the sentencing hearing for former USA gymnastics doctor and convicted serial child molester Larry Nassar in January. Povolitis could not have been more correct. Were it not for the First Amendment and solid investigative journalism, Nassar, in her words, would still be abusing kids. There are many other outstanding examples of responsible investigative journalism, some of the best of which we honored in the 2017 RTDNA National Edward R. Murrow Awards. Let's take a look at just a few.
We're in ISIS territory. It's clearly marked. The convoy slows down, and on the soldiers' faces, nerves begin to show. And then the roads give way to muddy alleys. There's nowhere to turn. It's so claustrophobic. And every car here, every garbage can could be a bomb.
Giselle and Jeff's only child was found in the cattails directly across from their beach. His kayak was bottom up in the water. Brennan had drowned, wearing his life jacket, upside down, in his seat.
The sheriff brought us over there because I wanted to hold him one last time.
No one knows why Brennan's kayak rolled or why he was unable to get back up. But his parents still hope.
I'll try to get the
some good can come.
So we asked the Rapids Riders Whitewater Canoe and Kayak Club to help us help the next Brennan.
It's falling rapidly.
This New Orleans area pharmacist asked us to hide his identity, contract with pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs prevent him from talking publicly. But documents multiple pharmacists gave to Fox 8 News show in some cases companies charge you a copay that's more than the cost of the drug.
During a routine job at Hanford, he was working right outside what's known as the Sea Farm, where workers are transferring nuclear waste out of leaking tanks.
I've just been fighting, getting worse, getting better, getting worse, getting better, and to the point where I thought I was dying.
Seth's been monitoring radiation at the site for 12 years, but it took just a few minutes for his career, his health, his life to come to a standstill.
It got really strong, kind of overwhelming.
On August 31st of 2015, Seth began smelling something odd, suspected chemical vapors. He got out of there, but felt the effects immediately.
I started having breathing problems the same day.
Available by physician order for as little as $299. Pathways Marketing claimed it could do what others say is years away.
Cancer Intercept can detect a growing tumor in the body before the patient may notice symptoms. It's like a cancer stethoscope for detecting and monitoring cancer.
A few weeks ago, we visited Pathway to ask them about their claims. Before we sat down with the CEO, Jim Plant, they played us that marketing video.
We just watched a video upstairs.
Right.
and it says the liquid biopsy will detect cancer before symptoms.
Yeah, may. So we
well, that's not what the video says.
It says it may. We don't say we don't say will. We say may.
You don't make the claim that you can detect cancer?
We say the information can be used to help guide potential early diagnosis.
They are the drivers we're supposed to trust to get our kids to school safely. But records and videos we've obtained show them driving dangerously hundreds of times. And believe it or not, those drivers were never punished until we started asking questions. Caught on video, big yellow school buses blowing past red lights, risking dangerous collisions.
This is one of the more dangerous violations that we would write tickets for.
We watched the videos with NBC5 law enforcement expert Don Peritz,
Had he actually stopped?
a former Sheriff's Department traffic commander. One bus driver nearly rear-ending a car, then whipping into another lane and running the red light.
And now you have bus drivers ignoring the red signal and endangering everyone around them because they're either in such a hurry or not paying attention.
Thank you to those journalists. Thank you to our honorees tonight. And thank you to you for being here, for supporting the First Amendment, and for supporting the efforts of RTDNF.